Welcome to Flawless Shoe Reviews. Today we're comparing the Adidas Boston 13 with the ASICS Novablast 5. Two really popular neutral running shoes, but they've got a completely different feel underfoot, can be used for different types of performance, whether that's lifestyle, running or racing. I'll break down the differences so you know which is best for you. When we look at the Novablast 5, we've got the brand new FF Blast Max cushioning, which is a lot bouncier, a bit more responsive than what we saw in the Novablast 4. So Novablast 4 was quite a performance-based shoe, where this feels a bit more like an all-rounder overall, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But then in the Adidas Boston 13 we've got the Lightstrike Pro cushioning in the midsole, which covers 40% more than what we saw in the Boston 12, and it's also got the lightning rods that adds extra stiffness to the shoe. So it's quite a firm shoe underfoot, whether you're walking or whether you're running. If you're someone therefore who likes to have a relatively firm feel, a relatively responsive feel underfoot with good ground contact, then this can be an excellent option. But there are some downsides to this shoe as well, which we'll touch on in a minute. But in addition to the FF Blast Max cushioning on the Novablast 5, we've got an excellent heel bevel and an excellent forefoot rocker. So that ensures a nice smooth transition from when you initiate contact with the ground through to the push-off phase of the gait cycle. And it's got a little bit of toe spring in it, so that's where it holds your toes in slight extension. So those of you who have sensitivity to that just need to be aware of it. We have a much less aggressive heel bevel on the Boston 13 compared to the Novablast 5. And the forefoot rocker isn't as aggressive either, but those of you with halux rigidus, halux limitus issues, you'll probably appreciate the Boston 13 a little bit more because it's a little bit stiffer in that forefoot. We still have stiffness in the Novablast 5, but just has a little bit more flexibility than what we see in the Boston 13. There are some sizing issues on top, and we'll touch on that in a second, but I just want to talk about the stability of both shoes. So even though they're both classified as neutral shoes, there are some differences in the stability. So we have a really broad platform underneath the Novablast 5 with quite a narrow heel on the Boston 13, and that means it's just a little bit more unstable on the Boston 13 than the broad base that we have in the Novablast 5. We also have some big side rolls on the heel around the inside and the outside of the Novablast 5. They come up, try and provide stability to the ankle when you initiate contact with the ground, helping to control those pronation moments. In contrast to that, we've got very small, if any, side walls on the Boston 13 on the inside or on the outside, but instead we've got a very broad platform in the forefoot to try and provide stability. So if you're a mid to forefoot runner and you're using the Boston 13, you'll probably find the shoe quite stable, but if you're a heel striker, you might struggle with the lack of sidewalls and the very narrow platform underneath your foot on the heel. Whereas we've got a very broad platform throughout the whole shoe in the Novablast 5, and we've got plenty of sole flare on a broad base underneath the forefoot. So in my opinion, it's a lot more stable of a neutral shoe than what we see in the Boston 13. Now they both come in around the same weight, 255 grams for a size 9 men's US, which is quite surprising looking at the under base of the shoe, where you have a Novablast 5 which is much wider. And then the stacks are different as well, with a 6mm drop in the Boston 13, so we've got 36mm in the rear foot, 30 in the forefoot, whereas an 8mm drop in the Novablast 5 with 41.5mm in the heel, 36.5 in the forefoot. So a lot more padding underneath your foot, and therefore it feels bouncier, a bit more fun to run in than the Boston 13, which is quite a firm shoe. And to be honest, we found it a little bit clunky when you transition to the back to the front of it, just because of that rigidity in the shoe. And as we move on top of the shoe, we've got quite a narrow fit in the toe box in the Boston 13, so those of you with a broader foot, you may struggle with it. In the Boston 12 we saw a wide version, but it doesn't seem to be available in the 13 just yet, but I'm sure it's to come. In the Novablast 5 we have a slightly broader fit in the forefoot, and it comes in a wide version as well. They both have light engineered mesh on top. We've got a very thin tongue on the Novablast 5, which is gusseted. We've also got a thin gusseted tongue on the Boston 13. We've got some rigidity in the back of the heel counter on the Boston 13, with a little bit more padding on the Novablast 5, and it's a relatively stiff heel counter as well, with a nice pull-on tab on the tongue and on the heel. So if you want to use them as lifestyle shoes, you probably find that the comfort in the Novablast 5 is a little bit better. Can be used for running and for walking and for standing all day. The Boston 13 is a bit more of a running only focused shoe. Not to say that it can't be used for lifestyle, but you might find the narrow platform a little bit more unstable for day-to-day activities. When it comes to running, if you're looking for a bouncier, springier, long distance shoe, then you look towards the Novablast 5. It's a bit of an all-rounder. It can do easy runs, long runs, short runs, not necessarily race pace runs. Whereas the Boston 13, it's a little bit firmer underfoot, so if you want to go really longer distances, you might find that it's not as comfortable as the Novablast 5, but it can also cover race pace, tempo, fartlek workouts. So if you have any questions on them, please drop them in the comment section below. We got links to both shoes in the description if you want to check out the latest prices on Amazon. Otherwise, if you just found the video helpful, like and share and subscribe. It makes a massive difference. Thank you very much for watching.